I emptied our entire bank account while my husband slept next to me, ran away to spend the night with my brother-in-law, and came home the next morning pretending everything was fine and things have never been the same. Today, I confess the truth that has haunted me every second since. If you've ever lived with hidden secrets and never had the courage to tell anyone, you need to hear my confession. My name is Camila. I'm 35 years old, and on the surface, I was the perfect wife, smiling, devoted, always supportive. People around me used to say we were the model couple, picture perfect, the envy of all our friends. Married to Daniel for 7 years, from the outside everything seemed flawless, stable home. Family dinners, holidays filled with laughter. But behind that carefully crafted image, I lived a secret life driven by a toxic combination of desire, greed, and a hunger for validation. For years I felt invisible within my own marriage, overshadowed by Daniel's career, his dominant mother, and my successful The emptiness I carried became suffocating, and I desperately craved something, anything to make me feel alive again. That's when Lucas, my brother-in-law, stepped into my life. At first it was innocent, lingering look at a family barbecue, subtle flirtation disguised as playful banter. He made me feel noticed again, desired, important. Slowly, those innocent exchanges evolved, spiraling into an intense emotional affair, and eventually physical betrayal. Lucas wasn't just attractive. He had a charm and intensity that pulled me deeper into a dangerous game I foolishly thought I could control. Each secret meeting, each hidden text, fueled an adrenaline rush I became addicted to. My days became a charade, perfectly composed, laughing with Daniel, hosting dinners while inside I was tearing myself apart. I hated who I had become, but I loved the thrill, the forbidden excitement, and above all, the illusion of power. Lucas knew exactly what to say, how to manipulate my loneliness into a hunger for more. He whispered ideas that slowly chipped away at my conscience, making my marriage, my home, my entire life seem small, unsatisfying, even meaningless. One night, under the glow of my phone screen, he suggested something that should have terrified me, but instead excited me. "Why live this miserable life, Camila?" he asked softly. "Why stay trapped when we could run away together, take everything and start fresh?" At first, I laughed it off, but the seed was planted. The idea grew until it became irresistible. Before I knew it, I had rationalized it. Ali deserved more. I deserved freedom. I deserved happiness. So that night, heart pounding and hands trembling, I did the unthinkable. While Daniel slept peacefully beside me, completely unaware, I emptied our bank account, transferred every cent we had carefully saved. Then, grabbing a small bag packed in secret, I slipped out into the night, meeting Lucas at our arranged spot. That adrenaline felt euphoric, intoxicating, but it didn't last. By morning, the excitement turned into panic. Reality crashed into me like a wave. Terrified, ashamed, realizing the magnitude of what I'd done, I returned home, hoping desperately I could somehow pretend it never happened. That morning, I sat at our breakfast table across from Daniel, forcing a smile, trying to act normal. But deep down, I knew my life was forever broken. The lies had grown too big, too destructive, to hide. I felt the full weight of my betrayal, not just stealing our money, but stealing his trust, his dignity, his love. Worse yet, Lucas disappeared soon after, along with most of the money, leaving me alone, humiliated, and abandoned. I realized too late that I wasn't in love with Lucas. I was addicted to the thrill, the fantasy, the power of being wanted. My confession today isn't just about the damage I've done, it's about facing the truth of who I became. It's about the unbearable shame of losing everything that truly mattered for a temporary illusion of happiness. If you've ever felt invisible, unloved, or trapped, please hear me. Clearly, there's no happiness in betrayal, no freedom in lies. It only brings emptiness and destruction. I'm sharing my darkest moment because, maybe, just maybe, you'll learn from my devastating mistakes. Today, I confess everything, hoping to find some peace, some redemption, and maybe the chance to rebuild what's left of my broken life. It started out much smaller than anyone could have ever imagined. Not with betrayal. Not with a single moment of weakness. It started with silence, with absence. Daniel was always working, always busy, always away. Business trips, late meetings, deadlines. His entire world revolved around providing, achieving, being the man everyone looked up to. But somewhere along the way, I stopped being a part of that world. I became background noise in my own marriage. A roommate, an afterthought. And when the silence in the house grew loud enough to feel like shouting, someone else began to fill that space. Lucas, my brother-in-law, the man who was always around when Daniel wasn't. At first, it was innocent, casual. Conversations at family dinners, jokes about life, complaints about work, teasing each other about the smallest things. Then the looks started lingering longer than they should have been. Looks that said things neither of us dared say out loud. I told myself it was nothing, harmless, just attention. Just a small reminder that I was still visible, still desirable, still someone. But those glances turned into touches. A brush of a hand that lingered too long, a hand resting on the small of my back as he passed. Fingers that brushed mine under the table. None of it was accidental. And when it happened, the first real touch, the first time our bodies crossed a line we couldn't uncross, I remember every detail. His hand on my waist, his breath close, his lips hesitant before I let them meet mine. I could have walked away. I should have walked away. But in that moment, something inside me snapped. Not with anger, not with fear, with need. I felt alive, desirable, seen. Not like someone's wife, not like someone's burden, but like a woman again. And when I saw in his eyes that he felt it, too, that same hunger, that same forbidden attraction, it became a drug, a rush. The kind of rush that no amount of routine, no date night, no trip with Daniel could ever match. What started as a mistake became a pattern, a game, a secret world where I wasn't Camila, the dutiful wife. I was someone else entirely. And it's scary how quickly you convince yourself that everything's okay, that it doesn't mean anything, that no one's getting hurt, until you realize that everyone is getting hurt, especially you, especially the version of you that once believed you were better than this. And yet, even knowing that, I didn't stop. I didn't want to. It escalated faster than I ever imagined possible. What started as secret glances and guilty kisses behind closed doors quickly evolved into something much more dangerous, much more addictive. Lucas and I began meeting in places we never should have been. Hotel rooms booked under fake names, parking lots in the middle of the night, his apartment when no one else was home. Each time we met, it was like jumping off a cliff, terrifying, exhilarating, wrong. And yet I kept jumping. We told ourselves it was just physical, a release, a way to feel alive again. But it was a lie, because it wasn't just our bodies that were entangled, it was our minds, our emotions, our judgment. Lucas began feeding me words I never knew I craved, but suddenly couldn't live without. You deserve better. Why are you wasting your life, waiting for crumbs of attention from a man who doesn't even see you? You and I, we're the same. We could have it all. His words were poison wrapped in honey, and the worst part? I believed them. I let them seep into every crevice of my resentment, every inch of my loneliness. What had started as rebellion turned into obsession, into entitlement, into a reckless hunger for more freedom, more danger, more power. And then, the idea was born, or maybe it had always been there, silently waiting to emerge. Why not leave? He'd said one night, running his fingers down my spine. Why continue this miserable life when we could just take it all and disappear? At first I laughed, nervous, unsure. Are you serious? I asked. His eyes locked on mine. Totally. And just like that, the thought stopped being a fantasy. It became a plan. Simple, clean, relentless. Wait until Daniel fell asleep. Access the joint account. Transfer everything. Pack a bag. Walk out the door. Find Lucas, and never look back. Asterisk, asterisk. I wish I could say I hesitated, that a little voice screamed at me to stop. But the truth, there was no hesitation. Just adrenaline. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely type in the passwords. My heart was pounding so hard I was sure Daniel could hear it even in his sleep. One by one, I moved the money. Savings checking. Emergency fund. Every penny we had worked for, planned for, dreamed for, lost mine. Ours. Lucas and me. I stuffed the clothes into a small bag I had hidden away weeks ago as if some part of me had always known this would happen. My fingers trembled as I closed it. I took one last look at Daniel, sleeping so peacefully, so oblivious, and for a brief moment the guilt hit me so hard I could barely breathe. But then I remembered all the nights I had been alone, all the times he had chosen work over me, all the times I had felt like a ghost in my own marriage. And I walked out. That door I met Lucas 3 blocks away. His smile said it all. You did it, he whispered. We did it. The adrenaline was intoxicating. I felt invincible, powerful, unstoppable. The drive that night felt surreal, like we were starring in a twisted movie where we were the villains pretending to be the heroes. But reality, it has a cruel way of catching up with you. Because in the morning, Lucas was different. Distant, worried, nervous. And when I asked him what was wrong, he ignored me. But my stomach churned. Something wasn't right. I went home later that morning. I told myself I needed to get a few things, prepare a story in case anyone asked, pretend nothing happened. So I walked through that front door. I smiled at Daniel like nothing had happened. I sat at the kitchen table drinking coffee, waiting for the inevitable storm to come. Inside, my whole world was already on fire. I just hadn't realized yet how badly I was about to burn. Daniel woke up like any other day, stretching, checking his phone, rubbing his eyes, but then the notification. Low balance alert. Confused. He opened the banking app. Zero. Nothing. Gone. His heartbeat changed. Fast. Irregular. Panic rising. At first he thought it was a glitch. An error. But as he refreshed the screen several times, the numbers didn't change. His hands shook as he called the bank. His voice was monotone but shaky. There must be an error. My account is empty. But the bank confirmed every transaction, every transfer, every legitimate one. Every one processed at 2:13 a.m., and every one traced back to me. His wife, Camila, the woman he thought he knew, when his calls to me went unanswered, once, twice, 5 times. That's when his fear turned to anger, to betrayal, to devastation. He ran home, hoping maybe that I'd gone away, that I'd disappeared like a thief in the night. But no, I was there, sitting at the kitchen table, calm, coffee in hand, pretending the floor beneath us hadn't been set on fire. He walked in, slammed the door, his eyes fixed on me, but they weren't the eyes of a husband anymore. The eyes of a man realizing he'd never really known the person sitting across from him. Where is it? His voice wasn't even loud. It was rough. Like a knife sliding under the skin. I froze. For a second, my brain scrambled lie, deny, deflect, but it was no use. He already knew. Where it is. It. I couldn't hold it in. I cracked, hands shaking, face burning with shame. Daniel, I know he cut me off. Don't you dare. Just tell me, is this real? I opened my mouth, nothing came out, because there was no explanation, nothing that could fit into words without sounding monstrous. You transferred everything, he whispered. You emptied our life while I slept, while I lay beside. You stood up, looked at me and did this. I wanted to disappear. I wanted to sink into the floor. The weight of his eyes was unbearable. And then like a second blow, I realized something even worse. Lucas was gone. I checked my phone, no texts, no calls. His last message had been at 3:14 a.m. Asterisk, asterisk, it's over, catch me later. Asterisk, asterisk, but then it never came. I called him. Straight to voicemail, again and again, blocked. Panic set in. Not the panic of being caught, no, a new, sharper panic. The realization that I had been tricked, used, manipulated into becoming the villain in my own life, in Daniel's life. Lucas didn't love me. Lucas didn't want a life with me. Lucas wanted the money, and now he had it, and I had nothing. Daniel stared at me, his hands balled into fists, shaking not with anger but with disgust. You betrayed me, he said, his voice breaking. But you betrayed yourself even. Worse. I tried to speak, to explain, to beg, but what was there to say? That I was alone, that I was invisible, that I felt alive for the first time in years. None of that mattered now. None of that would ever matter, because the damage, it was done. Daniel took his keys. He looked back one last time, and he said the words that still haunt me. I don't even know who you are. And then he was gone, and I sat there, in the same kitchen where we'd planned our future, where we'd laughed, where we'd dreamed. Now, only silence. Silence. And the sound of my entire life crashing down around me. It didn't take Daniel long to decide. A week, maybe less. The divorce papers arrived faster than I ever imagined. No conversation, no discussion, just cold, lifeless documents delivered to my doorstep, like a death certificate for everything we once were. And with those papers came the avalanche. The moment the story broke in the family, it was as if I had never existed, or worse, as if I were a disease that everyone wanted to erase. My mother-in-law, the same woman who used to hug me at Christmas, blocked my number. My sister-in-law, who once called me her best friend, texted, I hope you rot in the hell you created. Friends disappeared overnight. Invitations vanished. No one wanted to associate with me. I became the whisperer at family dinners, the cautionary tale, the disappointment, the betrayal, the shame. Lucas gone. Completely. He erased all trace of himself. He changed his number. He disappeared from social media as if it had never existed, as if it had swallowed the money and me whole. I filed a police report not because I cared about the money anymore, but because I desperately wanted to cling to some illusion of justice, of closure, but deep down I knew he would never be found. I was not his lover. I was not his partner. I was his target, his pawn, his tool. And now, I was the result too. I was left with no husband, no family, no friends, no money, no identity. I lay awake at night, staring at the ceiling, replaying every decision, every message. Every moment I could have changed my mind, but I hadn't, and now the silence was unbearable. You don't truly understand the sound of silence until it's filled with your own name being cursed behind closed doors, until every memory becomes a punishment, until every thought feels like you're facing your own destruction. I was no longer mourning a marriage. I was mourning the version of myself I had destroyed with my own hands. I learned something no one ever tells you about betrayal. It doesn't just destroy the people you hurt, it destroys you from the inside out. And when the dust settled, all that was left was me, and the unbearable weight of knowing I did it. I hit rock bottom in ways I didn't even know were possible. Depression isn't just sadness, it's emptiness. It's waking up and forgetting why you should bother. It's looking in the mirror and not recognizing the person staring back at me. For weeks, I barely got out of bed. Food tasted tasteless. Sleep never came. And when it did, it was filled with nightmares about everything I'd lost. But in that darkness, something shifted. One morning, standing in front of that mirror with my eyes puffy, my hair messy, and my soul empty, I saw her. Not the woman Daniel had married. Not the woman Lucas had used. Not the villain everyone was now whispering about. I saw myself. Broken, imperfect, but still me, and for the first time I stopped lying, not to Daniel, not to Lucas, not to the world, but to myself. It was never about love. It was never about money. It wasn't about Daniel ignoring me or Lucas wanting me. The truth hit me like a punch straight to the chest. It was me. I was the hurt. I was the void. I was the one who believed that if I felt wanted enough, desired enough, praised enough, I would finally feel whole. But the more I chased that feeling, the emptier I became. No amount of money, attention, validation, or stolen moments could fill the abyss that lived inside me. And facing that truth was the hardest thing I've ever done. I started therapy. I joined a support group. And day after day, brick by brick, I tried to rebuild the woman I'd destroyed. Not the perfect wife. Not the lover of my dreams. Just Camila, the woman behind the masks. Some days I still lose. Some days I still wake up hating myself, replaying every mistake, every betrayal, every moment that brought me here. But other days, I fight, I breathe, I survive, I try. And recording this confession, is part of that fight? Saying out loud what I've spent years hiding? Exposing the truth? Not to gain forgiveness from others, but to free myself from myself. Because if I've learned anything, it's this. You can't run from yourself. You can't escape the emptiness by filling it with sin, by filling it with lies, by filling it with stolen love. The only way out is through shame, through truth. This is me walking through it. If you're listening to this, maybe you've never gone as far as I have. Maybe you think you're nothing like me. But listen carefully, because I didn't think I was like me either. It all starts so small. A harmless look, an innocent conversation, a little secret you convince yourself doesn't matter, a thought you let linger in your head a little longer than it should, a fantasy you entertain, a text you text back when you know you shouldn't, a coffee, a touch, a lie, and then another, and then another. Until one day you wake up and don't recognize yourself. Until one day you realize that the life you had, the people who loved you, trusted you, believed in you are gone. Not because they left, but because you destroyed everything that held them close. I'm telling you this because maybe, just maybe, you're at your breaking point right now. Maybe you're playing with something you think you can control. Let me tell you the truth. You can't. You'll lose control. It will consume you. It will take more than you ever thought you were willing to give on when it's over. It won't leave you feeling powerful, or beautiful, or alive. It leaves you empty, hollow, numb, filled with shame so deep that some days even breathing feels like punishment. Look, I'm not here to lecture you. I'm not better than you. I'm proof of what happens when you don't stop, when you ignore the warnings, when you think the rules don't apply to you. I thought I was too smart to get caught, too careful, too controlling, but sin, addiction, betrayal, they don't work that way. They trick you, they seduce you, and then they destroy you. If you're on this path if it's just the beginning, stop. Please stop. Talk to someone. Confess. Ask for help. Tear off the mask before it destroys your entire life. Because when you lose everything, there's no glamour. There's no freedom. There's no new life waiting on the other side. There's just nothing. Just a version of you that you can't even look at in the mirror without feeling bad. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying the fight is easy, but I am saying it's worth it. It's worth stopping now. It's worth saving your soul. Before it becomes unrecognizable like mine, don't wait until it's too late. Don't wait until the silence becomes louder than every scream you tried to ignore. This was my confession. I'm not here to ask for your forgiveness. I'm not here to ask for your understanding. I know what I did. I know what I became. And trust me, no one judges me more than I judged myself. But I needed to speak up. I needed to stop pretending. Stop hiding because silence is what destroyed me. This channel is not about judgment. It's not about pointing fingers. It's about saying the things no one else has the courage to say out loud. It's about being honest, brutally honest, about the darkest parts of ourselves. If you've ever fallen, if you've ever been so wrong that you didn't even recognize yourself, you're not alone. You're not the only one. Leave a comment. Tell me where you're listening from, share your story, because this space, this community, is for people like us, people who carry shame, people who carry regret, people who struggle every day to turn that shame into healing. It's not about pretending to be perfect. It's not about hiding the scars. It's about turning those scars into something honest, something real, something that maybe, just maybe, can help someone not fall as far as we did. I'm Camila, and this is my truth. Now it's your turn. What's your truth and your story? Leave it here in the comments. And never forget that your story can help other people. Keep watching this video that's appearing on your screen.